I always thought of myself as an orphan. My life was sponsored by a man I called Mr. Sterling, and I grew up with his daughter, Claire, who was 3 years older than me. I worked my ass off to get into NYU. Also, I could be closer to Claire, the woman I've been secretly in love with for years. For 4 years of college, I lived in her family's guest house, trying to take care of her, to be a part of her life. But she was always so distant, always saw me as just her little brother. In the end, her future was decided by a strategic merger of family businesses, a marriage arranged to seal a deal. It wasn't a happy one. While she buried herself in work, her husband was busy keeping a mistress on the side. After graduation, I left New York City. That's when my birth parents finally found me. But walking into their lives was like stepping into a dumpster fire. They already had a son, an adopted one named Leo, a master of manipulation who played the victim to perfection. It all ended with me dying alone in a prison cell, framed by Leo for a crime I didn't commit. The cold indifference from my so-called family had eroded every last drop of hope I had for connection. My dying wish was that in the next life, I would never have to meet any of them again. I didn't need a family. I didn't need friends. I just wanted to be left alone. Except, when I woke up, I realized I'd been reborn. And this time, someone had flipped the script. I came back to myself during the summer before my senior year at NYU, right before my final internship. I had 1 year until graduation. My plan was the same as before, get out of New York the day I got my diploma. But this time, I wouldn't be going back to the group home in Denver. That way, my birth parents would never find me. I had no desire to stay in New York, and I sure as hell wasn't going to Washington, D.C., where they lived. Both cities were nothing but monuments to my own personal hell. But to disappear, you need money. A quick check of my bank account showed a balance of just over $7,000, everything I'd earned from my recent internships. If I wanted enough cash to truly go off the grid, I needed to build a serious nest egg. Thankfully, my memory of my past life was crystal clear. I remembered every shift I worked at that sports bar. And more importantly, I remember the exact scores of every single game in that year's World Cup. It must have been a perk of being reborn. Every detail of my past life was permanently etched in my brain. The clarity only strengthened my resolve to cut all of them out of my life for good. I downloaded the DraftKings app, linked my bank account, and over the course of the World Cup, my account began to swell with massive, tax-cleared winnings. By the end of the tournament, I had quietly funneled nearly $300 million into my bank account. The branch manager himself started calling, offering me private wealth management and all sorts of high-yield investment services. Claire spent that whole summer working herself to the bone, leaving before sunrise and coming home long after dark. I knew this was a critical time for her. She was spearheading the push to get Sterling Industries ranked among New York's top 50 corporations. Ding dong. The doorbell rang. It was her birthday. I'd spent the afternoon cooking a table full of her favorite food and had even baked a cake from scratch. This would be the last birthday I'd ever celebrate for her. After graduation next year, I'd be gone, and her birthday would be just another day. But the clock on the wall already read 11:59 p.m. I opened the door to see a man helping her inside. I recognized him from my past life. David Shun, her college classmate and now a business partner. A guy who, like me, was a loser in love. I didn't say a word to him. I didn't invite him in. I just took Claire from him and shut the door in his face. David stood there for a second, stunned, nearly getting his nose clipped by the door. That surprisingly handsome kid was colder than ice. Inside, Claire was not a graceful drunk, or maybe she was just like that with me. I managed to get her to her room, lay her down on the bed, pull off her shoes, and cover her with a comforter. Just like I always did, I left a glass of honey lemon water on her nightstand for when she inevitably woke up thirsty. The next morning, Claire woke up with a vague memory of my call the previous afternoon, how I'd told her I'd be making dinner. She'd completely forgotten, caught up in a celebration with her team. Claire Sterling doesn't apologize. She doesn't admit defeat. She drank the honey water, carried the empty glass downstairs, and found the dining room spotless. The trash was already taken out. The fruits of my afternoon of labor, minus a few bites I'd taken myself, had all been scraped into the garbage. I was just coming out of my room with my backpack, heading to campus. "Morning," I said, walking past her. She looked at me, a flicker of confusion in her eyes. Something about me was different today. She'd been so busy all summer we'd barely seen each other. She probably figured I was just pissed she'd bailed on dinner. She had completely forgotten that yesterday was her actual birthday. Her official documents had a different date, fudged, so she could start school a year early. An idea formed in her mind. She decided she'd head over to NYU at noon and take her little brother out to lunch. After all, she was a distinguished alumna. Around noon, just as I was leaving my lecture hall, Claire saw me. She also saw the group of girls who had cornered me, asking for my Instagram handle. And she saw another girl, a stunningly beautiful one, in the middle of confessing her feelings for me. An unfamiliar, sour feeling twisted in Claire's gut. On pure instinct, she walked over and linked her arm through mine. I started to pull away, then stopped when I saw it was her. "Claire, what are you doing here?" I asked, surprised. "I came to take you to lunch." "What's all this?" "It's nothing. Just some classmates. Don't worry about them," I said, steering her away. "Come on, I'll treat you. What do you want to eat?" "Let's go to the spot," she said. "I haven't eaten there in ages. I kind of miss it." Claire, the spot is a boba tea and fried chicken joint now. New owners." "Oh, then what about that place just off campus?" "Sound good." Claire practically dragged me away. But the scene didn't go unnoticed. Someone had taken a picture of us and posted it on the campus gossip site. "Who is that gorgeous, sophisticated woman? I need all the details on her in 10 minutes. "Dream on, buddy. That gorgeous woman is on the distinguished alumni page. She's ranked number 7. Whoa, that's Claire Sterling. The CEO of Sterling Industries is our campus heartthrob, Ethan Prescott, being kept by a rich benefactor. I heard him call her sis. So the cool, low-key Ethan is actually a trust fund kid. No way. I've known Ethan since freshman year. The guy's worked like a dozen different part-time jobs. I've never seen a rich kid work that hard for his own, spending money. Impossible. Her last name is Sterling, his is Prescott. He can't be some secret heir." And just like that, the quiet campus life I had carefully maintained was shattered by Claire's whim. I ignored the online chatter. Even when my best friend Chris called, I told him to just let it go. It was pointless to explain. In a few days, they'd be on to the next thing. We found a quiet corner in a diner and ordered. We both tacitly agreed to avoid talking about last night. "Ethan, have you found an internship yet? Why don't you come work at Sterling Industries?" I refused without a second thought. In my last life, that's exactly what I did. And it was at the end of that internship that I met Victoria Prescott of the Prescott Corporation from D.C., my biological sister. She recognized me from a crescent-shaped scar on my hand and a small, heart-shaped birthmark behind my ear. The scar was from a fall when I was a kid, back when she was supposed to be watching me. It was unmistakable. This time, I had no intention of returning to that cold, loveless family. They may have spent over a decade looking for me, but it felt more like they were chasing a ghost, trying to satisfy some lingering sense of obligation. For years, they'd had Leo, an adopted boy my age. They were a happy family. In my past life, I tried so desperately to fit in, pouring all my affection into each of them. All I got in return was a mountain of pain and a collection of bitter memories. In the end, Leo framed me, claiming I sold company secrets. He'd spent a year poisoning them against me, so by the time the accusation came, no one would listen to me. No one believed me. Whenever something went wrong, I was the default culprit. They sent me to prison. My own sister, Veronica, a lawyer, personally entered my guilty plea and waived my right to appeal. I caused trouble in prison, trying to get their attention. No one cared. No one came to visit. Then, on Leo's orders, some inmates staged an accident. A sharpened toothbrush punctured my carotid artery. I bled out, and by the time they got me to the hospital, I was already gone, waking up back here. This time, I couldn't be bothered. I decided I could live a perfectly good life without parents or a family. Before I was reborn, I would have jumped at Claire's offer. But now, forget it. Besides, working at her company meant I'd have to watch a parade of guys trying to win her over. It was too painful. A lost cause. I already knew she didn't love me. There was no point in wasting my feelings, no point in making things awkward and inconvenient for her. "Claire, the university already set me up with an internship." I lied. "So I won't be able to come to your company. But thank you." She didn't press the issue, though she seemed to notice I wasn't clinging to her the way I used to. To be honest, her sudden appearance today was as surprising to me as it was to her. In my first life, she only offered me the internship when we ran into each other at home. But her spontaneous visit did give her a glimpse of how popular I was at NYU. She saw that the little brother who was always in her shadow had grown up. My rejections were so smooth that the girls didn't even seem hurt by them, as if it was only natural for me to say no. The colder I was, the more they seemed to flock to me, like moths to a flame. Some even made bets on who could get my number. It was exhausting. For my internship, I had a classmate's family company sign off on my hours. In reality, I spent my time in Cobblestone Landing, a historic district in the city, buying up property. I spent a staggering $130 million on 5 large, interconnected courtyard buildings and the 6 storefronts attached to them. I kept the 6 storefronts leased out. The 5 courtyards, however, were my real project. I would knock down the walls between 4 of them to create a boutique hotel. The 5th would be my private sanctuary. I'd been here in my past life. It was a popular tourist spot, a historic town within a city. The business was always booming. It was the perfect place to hide in plain sight. Claire and the Prescotts were the last people on earth who would vacation in a place like this. The 6 storefronts, managed by a real estate agent, brought in a steady $120,000 a month. My degree was in architectural design, so I drew up the plans for the hotel myself. It would be a fusion of modern luxury and historic preservation, renovating the interiors while leaving the classic facades untouched. The renovation of the 5 courtyards took a full year and cost me another $40 million. The result was a hotel with 4 historic-looking courtyards that opened up into stunning, modern spaces and a separate, private residence that was just as luxurious. Everything was state-of-the-art. I even put in a pool. During my senior year, I split my time between classes and Cobblestone Landing, using my internship as a cover story for Claire. When the hotel opened, I told no one. I just listed it on Airbnb, Booking.com, and Expedia. Its prime location and unique design, despite the high prices, made it an instant hit. I had already poached a professional management team to run the place. The hotel had 30 deluxe rooms, 10 family suites, and 6 luxury suites, each with a unique design. The on-site cafe and restaurant were staffed with professional chefs and servers. I even bought a smaller courtyard nearby and converted it into dorms and a cafeteria for the staff. Over that year, I won another $130 million from sports betting. By the end of the next year, the future knowledge I'd gleaned from my time as a bartender would be all used up, but it didn't matter. I had more than enough. The income from the hotel and my other properties would be enough to last me a lifetime. I gradually bought up another dozen storefronts in the old town, adding over $300,000 to my monthly income. Even if the hotel didn't make a profit, the rental income could sustain its operations indefinitely. I also donated $10 million to the group home I grew up in. I told the old director I was moving abroad permanently. It was a little deception, a way to keep the Prescotts from tracking my whereabouts by going through the home. In my last life, just as my sister found me, their private investigator had also located the place. This time, I would misdirect them, make them focus their search overseas while I was living quietly right under their noses in New York. A small smile played on my lips. I was pretty proud of myself. This life, I just wanted peace. Love and family could stay the hell away from me. Graduation day arrived as scheduled. I put on my cap and gown, took the group photos with my classmates, and was about to slip away when a few girls from my department and others called my name. They wanted to take a picture with me. I was about to refuse, but then I saw her. In the distance, Claire was standing there. In my first life, she never came to my graduation. A strange, unexpected warmth bloomed in my chest. I no longer had any expectations for her, but I was still happy. I found myself agreeing to the girl's requests. I had no idea why she was here. I hadn't told her about the ceremony. Over the past year, we'd barely seen each other. She was busy with work, and I was busy building my new life, my new home. I had been deliberately distancing myself from her. I used to make her breakfast every morning. She never ate it, but it was always there on the table when she left. For the last year, the table had been empty. I was so busy with my internship that I didn't even spend Christmas with her and her father. My absence had clearly unsettled her. Her father, Mr. Sterling, seemed to sense something had shifted. After Christmas, he had a private talk with me. He was surprisingly pleased that I had accepted reality and seemed to be moving on. He even promised to help cover for me, to support my story about moving abroad. I, however, politely refused any more of his financial assistance. This time, I hadn't begged Claire to come to my graduation. I hadn't met my biological sister Victoria through an internship. So why was she here? Apparently, Claire had realized over the past year that she had grown accustomed to my constant care and attention. My sudden absence, my busy internship that left no time for her, felt wrong. A few days ago, she overheard some interns at her company talking about the NYU graduation ceremony, and she suddenly remembered me. On an impulse she couldn't explain, she came, and she saw me surrounded by bright, beautiful young women, all asking for a photo. A strange ache filled her chest. I guess the little brat is pretty popular, she thought. He is handsome. Why didn't I ever notice that before? She walked over and, with a practiced ease, looped her arm through mine. Who are you? One of the girls asked, her voice sharp with suspicion. Hi there, Claire said with a brilliant smile. I'm Ethan's sister. I just came to see my little brother graduate. Oh, you're the beautiful sister our Ethan is always talking about, a guy next to me exclaimed. It's so cool to meet you in person. You're even prettier than he said. Really? Claire's smile widened. My Ethan brags about me? Totally. He's always saying how amazing and beautiful his sister is. Well, since you're here, you should take a picture with Ethan too, another girl suggested. Just as I was about to pull Claire away, she answered with a cheerful, okay. This definitely didn't happen in my first life. A part of me, a part one thought was long dead, felt a flicker of hope. With the help of my friend Chris, we took several photos with both her phone and mine. The pictures of us, with her arm around me, looked so natural, so right. Chris knew my whole story, my hopeless crush. He probably thought this was a way to make one of my dreams come true. The girl who suggested the photo was his girlfriend. I was grateful to them both, but I still didn't tell them my plans. I didn't want them getting dragged into my mess. The day after graduation, just like in my past life, Claire left for a business trip to D.C. I called Mr. Sterling to say my goodbyes, then took an Uber to JFK. I picked up my one-way ticket to France, boarded the plane, and landed in Paris. From there, I bought a used car that didn't require immediate registration transfer, drove it across the border, and found a smuggling route I'd heard about from an inmate in my first life. Just as he'd said, this time of night, the route was completely unpatrolled, a blind spot in the system. I abandoned the car and crossed back over on foot. Within hours, I was back in the States. Using a new set of identity documents I'd bought on the black market while renovating the hotel, I purchased a Range Rover and drove back to New York. The whole journey took me over a week. I finally arrived at my new home in Cobblestone Landing, the place where I planned to live out the rest of my days in peace. I never expected Claire to cut her trip short. When she returned to New York and found me gone, she ignored her father's objections and hired a team of private investigators to find me. The Prescotts in D.C. also tracked me to the group home, which eventually led them to Claire. When they learned I had vanished, they put their own P.I.S. on the case, telling them to cooperate fully with Claire's team. With the Prescotts' resources, my sports betting winnings, and the massive property purchases in Cobblestone Landing were uncovered in short order. I had never imagined that the trail I thought I'd covered so well would be so easy for them to follow. My elaborate misdirection, my entire plan to draw their attention overseas, it was all for nothing. They found me through the digital breadcrumbs I'd left behind. And there I was in my new home, admiring the sleek new motorcycle and electric scooter I just bought. Driving in and out of the narrow streets of the historic district was a nightmare. I left the Range Rover in a long-term spot in a garage just outside the district, but I needed something for getting around town. The scooter was practical, but a stunningly cool racing bike in the window of a local dealership had caught my eye. Since money was no object, I bought the toy for myself. The storefronts in Cobblestone Landing required little of my attention. The rental agency handled everything, and the income was steady. The hotel's performance had been climbing since it opened. We were averaging an 82% occupancy rate, which was already profitable. Add in the revenue from the cafe, restaurant, and gift shop, and the hotel was doing far better than I had ever anticipated. My good mood, however, was obliterated 3 months later when Claire and the entire Prescott clan showed up at my hotel. I tried to slip out the back, but Claire caught me. I had never seen her look so worn out, so fragile. A pang of something I thought I'd buried, pity, concern, shot through me. In 2 lifetimes, she was the only person I had ever truly loved. It turned out that after I left, Claire had been plagued by nightmares. She dreamed of my first life, me returning to D.C., ending up in prison a year later, her trying to visit but discovering her husband's infidelity. She dreamed of me dying in that cell, of her losing everything, her company, her baby, her sanity, at the hands of her husband and his mistress. The nightmares tortured her, leaving her sleepless. She couldn't understand why the Ethan in her dreams would end up in prison. She wondered if the dream was a premonition, especially when her dream husband's family had recently started pushing for a business alliance with Sterling Industries. Her father was actually considering the marriage proposal. My disappearance was the one thing that didn't happen in her dreams, and it made her question everything. But when the Prescott family from D.C. showed up on her doorstep looking for me, she started to believe the nightmares were real. Facing my 3 biological sisters, I was calm and detached. I didn't confirm anything, didn't deny anything. I just ignored them. It drove them crazy, but they didn't leave. Instead, they covertly collected items with my DNA on them for a lab test. With their resources, they had the results in a matter of days. The paternity test confirmed it. Ethan Prescott was their long-lost brother, the only son of the Prescott family. The news brought joy to everyone in the Prescott household, everyone except Leo. Without me in the picture, he had successfully cemented his place in the family. But just as he was about to be given a position at the Prescott Corporation, the real son had reappeared. In my first life, the day I was brought home, they had planned a welcome banquet for me. But Leo accidentally fell from a second-story window, breaking his leg, successfully stealing all the sympathy and attention. My parents stayed at the hospital with him all night. My 3 sisters took turns looking after him. The welcome banquet was never mentioned again. But this time, I refused to go back to that house where I had never felt an ounce of warmth. Even when my 3 sisters came back with the DNA report, I ignored them. They were accomplices in what Leo did to me. Even after I died in prison, they never showed a shred of remorse. This time, I wanted nothing to do with them or their family. But Claire, she was the one woman I had loved my entire life. And just when I'd finally given up, here she was again, messing with a script I thought I finally understood. My birth parents and Leo came up from D.C. as well, booking rooms at my hotel. They were not, however, allowed into my private courtyard. Only Claire was. For the past 2 days, she had used her big sister authority to forcibly move into my home, under the pretense of looking after me. At the hotel, Leo tried to pull his usual deceptively innocent act to win my parents' sympathy. But this time, he chose the wrong stage. This was my territory. The public areas were blanketed with security cameras, and so was my private residence. His attempt at self-harm to frame me was caught on tape, and it landed him in the hospital for a week with no visitors. The Prescotts paid for the best room, the best doctors, and round-the-clock nursing care, but no one went to see him. Leo's manipulative skills, as polished as they were useless. I wanted nothing from the Prescotts, so I had nothing to lose. His schemes only made the family resent him and feel more indebted to me. Soon, Leo left in disgrace. The ridiculous drama was finally over. The only thing I couldn't figure out was Claire. Throughout the entire ordeal, she had stood unwaveringly by my side, defending me, and my biological family. Not once did they blame me for anything, which was a stark contrast to my past life. How a change of venue really changed them that much. It seemed my decision not to return to D.C. was the right one. In this life, I had my own money. I was self-sufficient. My life was peaceful. Why would I go to D.C. and subject myself to that family? To make myself miserable? Living a good life was its own reward. Soon, my father and my 2 older sisters, Victoria and Veronica, left. But my mother and my 3rd sister, Vanessa, remained. I understood my mother's reasoning. My disappearance had been a wound that never healed. Adopting Leo was her way of trying to atone for it. And now that she'd found me, she didn't want to let me go. What I didn't understand was why Vanessa stayed. In my past life, she was always Leo's staunchest defender, the first to point a finger at me. She was the sister who would have helped Leo count the money after he sold her out. My mother and Claire spent their days together, drinking tea, while my mother relentlessly pried for details about my life. Claire, recounting our shared past, began to realize just how much she had overlooked, how deep my feelings for her truly ran. But now, all I showed her was the affection of a brother for a sister, and that imbalance clearly bothered her. Soon, Claire's suitor from my past life, the man she was supposed to marry, showed up. Their parents had arranged a meeting, but Claire had stood him up. Her father, knowing she was with me, had simply sighed and let it be, deciding his daughter's happiness was more important. But the suitor wasn't happy. Getting ghosted was a blow to his ego, but he had seen a picture of Claire, and he was smitten. He tracked her down and staged a massive, public marriage proposal right at the entrance to my hotel. It was filmed by dozens of tourists and immediately went viral. I was inside at the time. Claire dragged me out to use me as a shield. But looking at this guy, remembering how he kept a mistress and made Claire's life a living hell, I saw red. And now he was causing a scene at my front door. We started shoving each other, and I landed 2 solid punches on his jaw. He spat a few threats and took off when a local security guard showed up. They all knew me, of course. I was the invisible landlord of Cobblestone Landing, with storefronts all over town. My hotel was the best in the district. While others struggled to fill their $200 a night rooms, my $2,000 a night suites had a waiting list. The guards helped chase the creep away. I sent over a few cartons of cigarettes for the guys as a thank you. I had made it a point to be generous and build good relationships here. In this town, people had my back. At least here, no one could bully me. The internet was buzzing with gossip about our 2 families and our respective corporations. I, the unfortunate schmuck in the middle, got dragged into it too. But soon, all the news about me and Claire was scrubbed from the web. I knew it was the Prescotts' doing. They had that kind of power. I wouldn't thank them for it, though. I just wanted to live my life, and for them to live theirs. But I hated and loved that Claire was always in my house now, that she had taken over my master bedroom and my office. Didn't she have a company to run? Still, watching her argue with Vanessa over which of them had the right to be called my sister, and seeing the frustrated look on Vanessa's face did give me a certain amount of satisfaction. Maybe it was my resolute refusal to return to their family, or maybe the stories of my lonely childhood in the group home had finally touched their hearts. I imagine they felt a similar pang of guilt in my first life, but Leo's influence slowly eroded it. This time, my firm rejection amplified their guilt. And without the home field advantage of D.C., Leo's manipulations were powerless. Nothing he said or did could hurt someone who refused to even acknowledge them as family. It only made the Prescotts see him as petty and unreasonable, deepening their sense of obligation to me. Not that I wanted it. I just wanted them to stay away. In this life, I wasn't going back. Whatever games Leo wanted to play, I wasn't a player. He could do his worst. It had nothing to do with me. Besides, I could play his game too. I could play the victim just as well as he could. Over the next few weeks, every one of Leo's schemes blew up in his face. The family grew more and more distant from him. Even after Vanessa left to shoot a movie, Victoria and Veronica started taking turns staying at my hotel. I never initiated contact with any of them, but I could feel their persistence wear me down. Still, I held firm. I would not acknowledge them. I would not go to D.C. Claire saw what Leo was, and she finally understood why the dream version of me ended up in prison and why I was so adamant about not rejoining the Prescott family. As an observer, she gave my sisters the most sensible advice: leave me alone. But they wouldn't listen, especially Victoria. She was the one who was with me the day I got lost all those years ago. Time passed. Life in the old town was filled with small, interesting moments. The hotel cafe became the gossip hub of the district, and I heard my fair share of stories, including plenty about Claire. Her relationship with her suitor had completely soured. The townspeople often saw him trying to harass her, only to be blocked by the bodyguards who now followed her everywhere. One day, Claire insisted I'd be her driver and date for a friend's wedding. That night, I saw her suitor bribe a waiter to drug her drink. I accidentally knocked over a tray of glasses, shattering the drugged champagne flute before she could drink from it. But my intervention had consequences. The suitor had men waiting, and they beat me severely for protecting her. I ended up in the hospital, unconscious for 2 whole days. The entire Prescott clan rushed to my bedside. Within 26 hours of me being admitted, the Prescott Corporation had hostilely taken over and bankrupted the suitor's family company. Claire's own father personally saw to it that the man was arrested. With a mountain of other evidence the police uncovered, it looked like he would be spending the rest of his life in prison. Claire never left my side for those 2 days, talking to me nonstop, even when I was unconscious. When I finally woke up, she gave me a tired, relieved smile and then promptly fainted in my arms. After that, everything between us changed. I stopped calling her sister. She started using my name. Our bond grew stronger every day. The racing bike I'd bought became our vehicle for late-night dates, with her arms wrapped tightly around my waist as we sped towards one destination after another, our heartbeats in sync. Meanwhile, Leo, increasingly out of favor with the family, made a desperate move to secure his future. Just like in my first life, he tried to steal corporate secrets to sell to a rival. But this time, it backfired spectacularly. My father and Victoria, already deeply dissatisfied with him, had, at Veronica's suggestion, installed a new network of hidden security cameras throughout the corporate headquarters. They captured crystal-clear footage of Leo stealing the data, not just once, but multiple times. Even after they sent him to prison and formally disowned him, I still had no intention of going back to D.C. or officially rejoining the family. So they came to me. The Prescott Corporation moved its headquarters to New York City. They bought a row of connected townhouses in the Riverbend Estates, a luxury development right next to Cobblestone Landing, built a new surrounding wall, and installed a private gate that opened onto the path leading to my hotel. A year later, after a relentless and charming pursuit, I finally gave in when Claire proposed to me. We registered our marriage, and our wedding was one of the biggest events Cobblestone Landing had ever seen. It was all over the internet. At first, the narrative was about a lucky guy who married into wealth. But when the news broke that I was the long-lost heir to the Prescott Corporation, the tone shifted to one of breathless admiration. I knew the Prescotts had intentionally leaked that information. It was their public way of claiming me. This time, I didn't fight it. I tacitly accepted it. My quiet acceptance seemed to shock them, but their surprise quickly turned into elation. A week later, I brought Claire to their new home, and together, we served my parents' tea, the new bride formally greeting her in-laws.